Hey guys, welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Thursday night, I feel like it's been forever. Again, sorry that we could not be with you last night or yesterday during the day. But I do want to spend a little bit of time with you this evening. And then tomorrow night's the big show. So I actually just talked to Scott Roeder a little bit earlier. He will be here with the guys from Drunk Turkey. So tomorrow night, Friday night, again. Yeah, because it's been like forever. I know. I feel you. I got a notification. Oh, see, look at that. Real quick, try to pull all the strings, try to get that request for the discovery. The answer could not get my hands on that. Nobody can get their hands on it. So, but a couple things we will talk about this evening. Hello, Boston. Hello, all the mods, all the members, all the subscribers. Again, make yourself known after this video or during the video with a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on if it was your cup of tea. What you guys are looking at right here, though, I wanted to look up stuff about Brian Kohlberger's schooling and DeSales. Now, DeSales offered something that you could actually get your bachelor's and your master's, and you could literally do it from the comfort of your own home. They had an online program. Or Brian could have lived at home and commuted the 43 miles, depending, because there's really nothing out there that talks about, oh, hey, I was roommates with Brian, or anything. Like, no one's coming forward and, hey, I had class with Brian. Hey, it's just everything WSU. So, wanted you to see that the DeSales University offers a bachelor's, master's, and a minor in criminal justice. Students have the ability to earn a master's in 5 years with the 4-in-1 program. Students can also complete police academy training as part of their 4-year degree if they choose to do so. So curious, did he? Also, other components of this program includes a crime scene house, which allows students to walk into a variety of crime scene scenarios. Again, including the famed murder scene. The program requires the completion of 123 credit hours for the Bachelor of Arts and for the arts degree. I went ahead and went one step further and checked into, accepting like transfers, because he did go to the JUCO and then transferred. Yep, they accept. So his stuff would have been accepted, his credits and stuff like that. They would have transferred. So yeah, did Brian, did he do the online program for everything once he went to DeSales, or did he commute? Do you live on campus? All those things. Now check this out. I'm going to share this next screen here. I went ahead and was looking up the best criminal justice, like the PhD programs. I wanted to see what the list was. And let me share a couple things. Okay, this is where I got the information about the DeSales University online. Like I said, you could have done the master's as well as your actual undergrad. So I just went through it just to check on some stuff, but double checked everything. 100% acceptance rate. Go to the sales. You will not be denied, guys. Go get your education on. Academic factors. Class rank not considered. Your undergraduate GPA, very important. Recommendations not considered. Standardized test scores not considered. Application essay, who needs that? No. Important. Interview not considered. Work experience considered. Applicant's interest level considered. Anyways, go ahead and give Leslie a call. Let me know what she tells you if Brian was in the program or not. Just kidding. Leave her alone. Moving on. Let me share the, also, guys, remember that Brian would have had the ability if he was doing the online, when he went to Washington April 12th and met with the police department out there. That was technically during the school year. But if he was online and doing his classes online, yeah. But he can do that from anywhere. Also, DeSales had both a holiday break for like for Easter, and then as well as their spring break. So again, one second here. I want to show you the when he would have looked at going, why did he pick WSU over, I don't know, let's just throw out Sam Houston or Rutgers, why go cross country? I want to show you guys this. Hang tight. All right, got it. Let me share this. I have so many tabs open, it's not even funny. Here we go. Boom. All right, this was your top 5 PhD in criminal justice programs, okay? And here are the top 15. Well, I want to show you guys what, if you actually read each one of these, they all focus on something. But when I got to the Washington State University one, okay, which is right here, I was like, let's see what it says. Make sure you guys can see it on your end. Okay, good, you can. So hang one second, I'm finding something. Okay, here it is. All right, the Washington State University one. The Washington State University has a program that creates some of the best mind in the field. To apply, you must already have a master's degree, because I just learned that you actually don't have to have a master's degree in some of the top 10 schools, but this one you do. And you have to agree to live on campus as a grad student in residence for 2 semesters. I went through all of this. The program is rigorous and focuses on research, teaching, logical thinking, and leadership. I went through all of these top 15. None of them, not a single one, tells you that, hey, you have to live on campus. That's the only one that says it. Again, so I thought that was interesting. Yeah, don't worry if it's blurry. I just read it for you. So out of all of these schools, you come to that one and you have to, you know, be willing to live on campus. FSU, for example, says Florida State offers a program at their College of Criminology and Criminal Justice that focuses on original work and individual thinking. It's one of the best. Graduates are well prepared to be leaders of the country, lead classrooms, and write texts. The program does not rely upon a predetermined set of credits to earn the doctorate. Instead, a board determines if the candidate has shown prolific in mind and subject, proficiency rather, in mind and subject to land and add to the collective subject. It is one of the best rated programs in the nation. Can you imagine that there's no set of like, we do not have a predetermined set of credits? Duh. Our board just says, oh my God, how have you been doing? Okay, boom, you get your doctorate. I was like, what? I was like, I'm going to Florida State, man. Who needs credits? They can just board past me, you know? So yeah, just something I thought was, yeah, very interesting. But this would have been like, stuff that Brian would have been considering when you're, okay, why are you going where you're going? Rutgers, right? East Coast, Florida State. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to Florida, right? Does that say Connie John Jay? Hey guys, where are you guys going to school? At Connie John Jay College? Duh. But they are one of the best. That's where they take all the FBI recruits, or a lot of them. Boom. CJJ. CJJ. I wonder what their mascot is. What do you think the mascot is there? I was just trying to have some fun with you there. Marcus. Sounds legit. Never heard of it. I know, and it's one of the top. Anyways, so basically, that was the only one though that talked about like, hey, you have to live on campus. You have to be willing to live on campus. Everybody else is talking about like, it's just very interesting to me because he would have saw that. On campus, there's a difference. And that's what the Steptoe apartments are on campus. Yes. I'm surprised that Maryland wasn't on his list. University of Maryland focuses on both research and teaching opportunities for their students, so each graduate will go on to be well-rounded in their field of knowledge. If you're ready to become an expert in the field of criminal justice and want to go to school in proximity to some of the biggest happenings in the law world, then consider next fall. Baltimore is so corrupt. Could learn all the things you need to be it's just one corrupt area. Anyways, again, hello, welcome to the transparency. That was just a little, 101 on what Brian Kohlberger would have been looking at if you want to talk about going to the top schools. That's your top 15. And then Indiana University of Pennsylvania made it. But There you go. Again, the only one out of all of these to talk about that, hey, you're going to live on campus right there, Washington State University. So, and in order to apply, you must already have a master's degree and agree to live on campus as a graduate student in residence for 2 semesters. So the program is rigorous and focuses on research, teaching, logical thinking, and leadership. All right, guys. So how are we doing? I'm sure everybody had seen if you haven't, the interview that Xana's mom did yesterday. If you haven't, you can go to News Nation and check it out. But for the most part, Brian Kober traveled across country, and that would have been his first time pretty much leaving, obviously Pennsylvania, but possibly his home, depending on, did he commute? Did he live at home? Did he live on campus when he went to school? Was he in any of the online programs? And again, these are all things that a total unknown. And I just was thinking, like, if he would have been on campus and living on campus at any point in time, like, don't you think anybody would have come forward and like, hey, that was my roommate and I got roomed with him XYZ year and blah, blah, blah. You just don't see that. You don't hear it. Yeah, I thought that was a very sad interview. I thought that, I think a lot of it's clipped and paste though too, but just so many moving parts in this case, so many moving parts. But today's episode really isn't to talk about that. I want to talk to you guys about some more language that I came across and wanted to know your some language that I came across in this probable cause. Let's see. Again, I tried to do everything I could to get that. I wanted to see that answer, and they're just not putting it out there. So, but so 2 things that we're going to end with discussing and then seeing what you guys have in the comment sections or in the live chat section rather. But first thing being, on page 1 of the probable cause, it says that just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Kernoodles, laying on the floor. And so that was the first that you could see. And then it said, also in the room was a male. So both were in the room, but the first one that you could see upon approaching the room was Xana. Okay. So early on, all the reports, people saying that they found Ethan or whoever they found they thought that they were unconscious. Well, I don't know where they're getting that from. You'd have had to pass Xana to get to Ethan. And again, they were both in the room because it says also in the room. Okay. So nobody was in a hallway or anything like that. Also, what it tells me that the bathroom door was closed. So I'm curious if that in fact was closed. Another language. We're going to get to the meat and potatoes of this live. This would be on page 2. And as I entered this bedroom, I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Kaylee, Maddie were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed. Okay, I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Maddie's right side. Now, Payne and Blaker were both walked through this house with Officer Smith. So at the beginning, okay, at the beginning, page 1, Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence. Because Officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised he would walk me through the scene. Okay. He was one of the first people on scene. Officer Smith there with another guy, Nunez. So he says that he gets there around 4. So this would have been like almost 4 hours after like the initial officers. Okay. And now remember, they have body cams. Okay. So how many times do we think Officer Smith, went through the house? Okay. Because what I mean by this is if I'm walking into this house with you and I've already been through it. Okay. When I would come to certain areas, I would point out to you, hey, take a look at this. Hey, took a look at that. Okay. Bless me. Hold on. I think I have a couple more in me. Okay. I think I'm good. Okay. So, again, I'm going to read this for you guys. So I just want you guys to think, just listen to the words. Listen to the words. Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Okay. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. That's when they go down. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned was, Xana's. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. Because what you're doing is you're describing and you're talking about the layout. And since it's saying that he saw this door, that's why I'm saying that it was closed. Just before this room, like I said, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway versus saying like that it was a closet door, bathroom. As I approached the room, I could see a body. Also in the room, that's how you know they are in the same room, which is the bedroom. Also in the room, okay, was a male. Okay. Okay. So again, also in the room. That's how you know that they're in the same room. Also in the room. Okay. We have it nailed down now. We know both in that bedroom, but you're seeing Xana, then Ethan. Okay. Now going to page 2, and you read the first paragraph, and it says, I then followed Officer Smith upstairs to the third floor of the residence. The third floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee's. I later learned, and then in parentheses, from review of Officer Noonan's body camera. Okay, that means that he would have Payne reviewed his body camera. But then I said to myself, I'm curious as to why, I later learned from review of Officer Noonan's body camera, there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. When you asked Officer Noonan, did he not remember if there was? Hang tight. I'm going to grab a water, guys. Hang tight. Okay, back. Sorry. I needed some water. You don't realize how much talking you do. Gotta save this voice. All right. So this is really important right here. I later learned from review of Officer Noon's body camera that there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. So I'm curious, when you, Officer Payne, asked, hey, where was the dog? Oh, I don't know. Did he say, I don't know? Or why couldn't he just tell you? Why did you have to say when you reviewed the body cam? Did he not remember where the dog was? Interesting, huh? Anyways, so I later learned. So he's saying, I later learned. And he learned it from watching the body cam. He never says that that's where the officer, he just watched it and that's how he learned. Okay. Now we go to the next paragraph on page 2. As I entered this bedroom. So I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Kaylee and Maddie were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Maddie's right side. Now, this is kind of nuts, for me. So you got Officer Smith, who has been there for 4 hours. For 4 hours. Okay, don't know if he's walked through a bunch of times. Don't know if he just went through once and then was waiting for, the detectives or Payne but here it is 4 hours later. Okay, you got Officer Smith who's there, who walks Payne through. All right. I want to see these body cams because did they not have any type of a conversation to say, oh, look next to the bed or look at that right there? Like, so Officer Smith never saw this? Did Officer Smith, like, if I'm walking you guys through and I open up my house and I say, hey, I'll just, give you guys a tour of the house and I walk you guys through something. So I'm talking to you probably while I'm going through something, right? Hey, when we got here, this is what, was there any type of conversation going on? Again, you don't realize it until you go back and you really look at these words. As I entered this bedroom. So at first I thought, okay, well, maybe he was just looking from standing outside of the room. Okay, nope. He says it right here. As I entered this bedroom, Officer Payne, physically walked into this bedroom. Okay. I could see 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Kaylee and Maddie were deceased with visible stab wounds. I also later noticed, that means later when? I also later noticed what appeared to be a tan leather knife sheath lying on the bed next to Mogan's right side. It doesn't say that, oh, I later noticed because I watched my own body cam. It doesn't say, oh, Officer Smith pointed out, look at that sheath. Okay. I later noticed. So that's telling me that you went back. Officer Payne goes back to that room. How many times did you go back to that room? I want to see Officer Smith's body cam footage where, like, how are you not noticing it the first time? And at first I thought, well, maybe he didn't go into the room because, are you guys just trampling through this, like, all this stuff? Like, what are you doing? No. He says, as I entered this bedroom. So he goes in it. I could see 2 females in the single bed. I also later noticed, so you just, like, went back a different time, and that's when you noticed it. Did you, overhear people talking about it? But you're gonna sit here and tell me that Officer Smith was there for 4 hours. By the time you go through, he'd been there for 4 hours. And when they're up, this is the most important piece of evidence. And when you're up in that room, you don't say, "Hey, Payne, look at that right there. Look at that." You don't say, "Look." You guys aren't having any type of a conversation that what you possibly saw Smith, that you were there for the past 4 hours. Um, again, then where this is located is on the bed next to Mogan's right side, and that is then in parentheses when viewed from the door. So now remember how this bedroom is very, very small, and if I believe I'm correct in saying this, that the bed is pushed up and it was up against the wall. So that would mean that, the right side, wouldn't you kind of say if it was between 2 people, like the sheath was between the 2 bodies? The way this is worded is that it was on the right side. Like, would you've ever said it was between them? If it was between 2 bodies on the right side, that means that's like how I picture this, is that's the out, like Maddie's laying on that side of the bed. Um, and then when you actually get the, it was a single. When you actually look at the, what is it? The apartment, stuff for the apartment search warrant, and you see that the sheath could have been next to or underneath. Wait, what? Next to or underneath? What are you talking about? So I'm just really curious to see these body cams. That's what I would be looking at, to see how, if I'm walking you through something and I've already pointed, if I've already seen something, I want to point that out. Okay. We know how chirpy and mouthy these guys are. I have all the body cams. I put it out there. So I could, if I'm walking Payne through this, and it's very, very visible, right? So, but basically Payne says that he doesn't see it the first time, but he also says, by not saying it, that Officer Smith didn't point it out. So I think that that's just interesting. That's, I mean, and so he later found out because he noticed it later. And he's saying he personally noticed it, not by some body cam. I'm just curious how much later. Okay. Let's see. Now we get to the finale of the live tonight, where I want you guys to tell me what you guys think about this. Okay. So I think that this FBI agent that is cited in here as the expert with a 35 years experience. Okay. So when you go to page, okay, here we go. Okay. It's on page 7. And this is the first part of it. Well, Lindsay, I'm only going off of, we have two different, they say both things. One of them says that it's laying next to the body. Then in the other affidavit, that's Blaker's or Bloker, or however he pronounces it, he says under or next to it. Both is what he says. I'm really curious to see how much, like, what comes back on that. Is this doused in blood? Very curious. All right, so again, page 7. All right, so I wanted to know more about them breaking down the make and model of the vehicle. So here we go, page 7. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilizes surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years law enforcement experience with 12 years at the FBI. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles, and he uses a database that gives visual clues of vehicles across states to identify differences between vehicles. All right. So after reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Okay. Now, upon further review, he indicated, the same person, upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. But they put it in that paragraph to kind of make it seem like he did that review upon further review. That kind of happened in like a way of like, and everything that you had, okay, that you kept on reviewing it like more closely or something like that, like upon further review. Further review of what? Further review of what you have already reviewed, or is this something new that you're reviewing? And this is what I mean by that. So stick with me for just 3 more minutes here. Investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman. A review of that video indicated that approximately 2:44, The white sedan, which was consistent with description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north. So we went all the way through that. It says this camera footage that has the 2:44 a.m. and the 2:53 a.m. Okay, with that 9 minutes of like a disappearing act for only the damn car to be kind of like right where it was before. It says this camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. And I thought about that and I said, wait a second, back up. Was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. So, okay, so that was an additional footage. All right, so that means this FBI examiner was given footage prior to this, all right? Because this is like the way that the sentence goes. I'm going to read it again. This camera footage from WSU, it was given to Moscow Police Department. Okay, the campus people from WSU gave it to the Moscow Police Department, and then they handed it over to the FBI, and this is a sentence. This camera footage from Pullman, Washington, was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. To the same, like he's already been provided something, and now here we go. Here is your here's more footage. Okay. Do you want to know what the first footage was that they looked at to get to the suspect vehicle 1? So I had to like back up and I said, okay, right here. It's on page 5. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with the other MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, herein after suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive. And then there was one at 326, 328. And on this video, it appeared suspect vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. Okay. A review of footage from multiple videos obtained by the King Road neighborhood showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. Okay. It was then after they took the video from basically Idaho, meaning the campus around that area. That is what initially was given to the FBI. They took the King Road neighborhood surveillance that they had, all right, and they gave it to the FBI. And off of that surveillance and the stuff that they're just telling you about right here, which is Indian Hills, it was that footage where the FBI guy says, yes, that vehicle is a 2011 to 2013. Okay, 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Then it would be, because that's after reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that suspect vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. Upon further review, he indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. What do you mean upon further review, though? Because then if you actually continue to read, it's saying that when investigators were given access to the video footage of WSU's campus, and that's what you see on page 8 when it says that this was then provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington, as being a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. So this is what's going to happen on the stand, I believe, how I would do it. You have an FBI agent that just literally identified 2 different vehicles. From the footage on Idaho's campus and the neighborhood, you identified this as being a 2011, 2013. Did you not? Yes. Well, what made you now say that this was a 2011 to possibly now 2016? Well, like what well, no, then I reviewed the WSU campus footage. Okay, so you reviewed the WSU. Okay, when did you do that? Was that after or before the Idaho campus footage? Oh, that was after. Okay, so you watched the Idaho right by King Road and you determined that it was 2011, 2013. Yes. Then you watched video of a different area, however miles away. How many hours? Well, it was 1 hour, about, yeah, almost like an hour and a half, I guess, before the crime. And then again, 2 hours after, an hour and a half after. Okay. And what did you determine on those videos? Whether that was a 2014 to 2016. Okay, so you identified 2 different vehicles. A 2014 to 2016 is what you identified from the WSU campus footage. But the Idaho ones around King Road, you identified as 2011 to 2013. Yeah. So what's going to come out in court is, when did you change your mind that this vehicle is now a 2011 to 2016 versus that these are 2 separate vehicles? Because you identified 2 separate vehicles. Because if you actually read this PCA, he's identifying 2 different vehicles, because he says on page 8, if you start with the last sentence of page 7, it says, this camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. So you had the first stuff, which was the stuff from Idaho. Now here we're handing you, this is the footage from WSU. Okay. And now he's looking at that and he says, yep, we provided this to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman. It was a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. And that's going based off of the footage from just the 2:44 a.m. and the 2:53 a.m. So that's just from the WSU footage. It's a 2014 to 2016. Okay, so that doesn't match your 2011 to 2013. It's a different vehicle. So you have your 2014 to 2016. That's on WSU's campus. But the one that you actually have, that's the Idaho by the crime scene that's passing by, that was originally said to be 2011, 2013. So how do you bridge this gap to say, okay, we're just going to loop this all in and these are all the same vehicle? That's not going to fly. I know it wouldn't fly for me if I was on the jury. I'd be like, okay, wait. You just have an FBI agent that says, yeah, 2011, 2013. And then the same FBI agent says that the 244 one and 253 one, that's a 2014, 2016. And that's the one that you guys said drove into University of Idaho. But then when it's looked at on the cameras on Idaho, the one that you have going by the house, your path, you have that as a 2011, 2013. So the question is you identified 2 different vehicles that, like, when you watched your stuff. And he's going to have to say yes, because that's what he did. He identified 2 different vehicles from 2 different cameras. So the one on WSU's campus is that, and the one on Idaho was the 2011, 2013. So when did it become that it's now, well, upon further review, I think that both vehicles can be lumped into what, a 2011, 2016? Like, wait, what? When did you? And then this is going to be the best part about it is the dates. When did you review this? When did you review this? When did you have Brian Kohlberger's name? Oh, well, Brian Kohlberger drives a 2015. Okay, so hey, go back and look at the footage with the Idaho stuff. Are you sure that possibly isn't like a 2015, not a 2011, 2013? And it says it all in the PCA. Like I'm reading like verbatim from it. It says it in chronological order, that a review of that video, and then it says this camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. And this in the car that's on that 2:44 a.m. camera footage, he is saying that is being a 2014, 2016 Hyundai Elantra. So you identified 2 different vehicles then. Number for the questions. Like, I mean, it's just, you identified 2 different vehicles. Those would be 2 different vehicles. 2011, 2013. That'd be one, right? And then this one you said was 2014, 2016. How did you're going to have to be on the stand explaining why you changed that. And it's all going to come with dates. How slowed is the chat? It's not slowed at all. It's just going full glow. Just for you, Hot Ham. I can slow it down though. I just looked at the chat, so want to know what you guys think. Let me just slow this down. Again, I like to go over it and then look at the chat, see what you guys think. There you go. Because they eventually got better footage and could tell the exact year. That's what Tom thinks. Okay. The chat is great. Perfect. Welcome. Hey, what's up there, Maple Beef? Woohoo. Turd Ferguson says 2010 to 2010 to 2020 all look the same. Patricia says no, they had to change it to match their theory. Johnson says, oh man, I got a wee tickle and no one is gonna know. What? Oh. So let me ask you guys a question then. When do you think that this happened, right? Well, then if it happened so early on in the investigation, then when they asked the public for help, why did they ask for us to have, they said 2011, 2013. They never changed it. So that's what they came out with was 2011. So December 7th, it would have to be after that date that a homie from the FBI was like, but then the public never got notified of that. Like you can't have it both ways. So you're going to tell me that, hey, you guys put out, be on the lookout for a 2011, 2013 on December 7th to the public. What did you guys ask the local law enforcement? Did you guys just say white Elantras? Did you guys give a specific year? And according to the PCA, it says that on November 25th, Moscow Police Department asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for white Hyundai Elantras in the area. Not a year, just white Hyundai Elantras in the area. And I think that that's priceless, because now that's funny to me. Because they can't go and put like outside of the date, because then Brian Kohlberger's is outside of 2011, 2013. But if you already had changed that, like, it's going to be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Hmm. Yeah, how delicious. What did you see his eyes too? Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Alice, agent could say, well, both cars were missing a front license plate, but anyone planning a crime could have done that because of cameras or to make it look like Brian's car. Correct. I think it's just gonna be big on like what made you say it was. You're gonna have to break down your method on how you got to the fact of it being a 2011 to 2013. Because when you identified this vehicle, you said that it was a 2014 to 16 off the rip. And when you identified the other one from that footage that was in Moscow, you identified 2011, 2013. So where did it come off of what footage? Can you show a difference? That this is why you're going to have to talk, you're going to have to explain that versus it being these are two separate cars. Could these be two separate cars? So your initial report was wrong, but now you're right. Even though there's 22,000 plus. Well, now when you talk about that, those years, now you have to even add in more possibilities. But it's just, and then if you realize it really quickly, why when it came out to the public in December 7th, why wasn't it a 2011 to 2016? Oh, I have no idea. I didn't put that out there. Okay, so then Fry's gonna get that question. Well, we were lying to the public a lot because we figured he was watching. Okay. So since you lied to the public a lot, are you lying here today? Well, no, I'm under oath today. But that's just part of our, tactic. Okay. No reason to update the year for the public if they already knew the suspect and didn't want to alert him. And I think that's what's going to be the thing, though, is if the FBI comes out and says that, well, we switched it, we knew that it was it was between 2011 2016. We knew that on December 1st or November 30th, or we knew that on November 25th. So I think that's going to be interesting. That you went with if this was already fixed, this was already changed. Why would you go with what the FBI said the first time? Especially if you didn't have Brian Colbert yet. I'm just saying you can't have it both ways. And then you tied up your FBI tip link to get tips that you didn't need. Um, So are we saying that law enforcement wrongfully targeted? No, no, no. I'm saying that you're gonna have to explain a lot of things. You're gonna have to explain how you got from A to B to C to D to E. Because what it says is that you made two different identifications. You identified this car on this camera in this area as a 2011, 2013. And it was off of this other footage, a completely separate area, completely different camera. You identified it as being this, which is a completely different car. So you identified two different vehicles. Okay, now all of a sudden it's the same one. How? Well, because it fits. That's why, right? You're gonna have to explain that. And people can say that they think that it's gonna be easy. And well, I guess we'll see they took 4,000 pictures of the crime scene. Well, I guess we'll see how easy it would have been to see that sheath right there the first time. They took 4,000. You don't catch a killer by showing all of your cards. Well, then what it tells me is you're not trying to catch a killer. You already have the killer. You're not trying to catch a killer. You don't have to do any of it. You don't even have to put that out. You do not even have to put that out. You do not even have to put that out. Um, um, Jenny says it's interesting as all of the evidence presented in the PCA is shown to be a bit flimsy and deceptively worded. So many people refuse to even consider the possibility they arrested the wrong guy. Yeah, I think that when you have somebody and you have all this evidence against somebody, and they're so guilty of sin, and hey, we got the right guy and all this stuff. I don't think you need to do any tricks or you don't have to be, creative. Um, and I think that it should bother people when Dawn says don't consider the DNA when issuing the search warrant of the apartment. Well, then why are you even mentioning it? Ann Taylor is going to pack some punches. I just think they're going to have that made me laugh, the wording there. I want Brian Colbert to he did it. Get him. Why would you ever want to see somebody that did something not be held accountable? I would want everybody that did something to be held accountable. How about this, guys? How come that these crimes couldn't have happened at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning? How come these crimes could have happened at 5? How come these crimes could have happened at 10 a.m., 9, 8:30? And do you want to know how and why? Think about it. Think about when this would have originally happened. You have 911 being called at 11:58 a.m. You have everybody home, like, let's just say, 2 a.m., right? So 2 a.m. to 11:58 a.m. And supposedly everybody went to bed, right? And then everybody's still in their rooms, whether or not they're sleeping or not. But this all rides on one witness that's saying that she heard X, Y, and Z. The same witness that didn't call 911. Everything is riding on the time frame of your witness. Because what if she's off on that time? What if that happened at 5 or 6 a.m.? If you go into your room at 4 and you fall asleep, but then you're awoke, like, what made her say, yeah, it was at 4 a.m. versus 5? I mean, how does she know what time she heard XYZ? Everything in this case, okay? So if I was investigating it, you're looking to see who could have possibly came by that house from 2 a.m. all the way until 911 was called. And then, yes, you can work from back from like, you're going to work with your medical examiner and the coroner. And okay, can you ballpark figure this time of death? Well, yeah, normally it's like, okay, it was between 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. It was between, 3 and 8 a.m. Um, well, I don't know whose body anybody saw. The only body that somebody would have saw, it would have been, when you break down the probable cause, it's in there saying when you're walking, and that hallway isn't long. It's you see Xana. That's who's visible with the door open. It's Xana, so it's not Ethan. That's the first person that you would have seen. Yeah, food content. But it's just when you're in bed and this case keeps you up, you just think to yourself and you're just like, wait a second, let's just start from the beginning. If you take away everything that Dylan has said, if you take it away, then you have a time frame of X to Z, right? Just based on what time everybody got home and then what time 911 was called. So you were going to go through footage that had to do with like that time frame, right? And there's a lot of different cars and people that come through that time frame. But then I went and looked at one page in here that says why they're giving the time of death that they're giving, or the time of crime, rather. It's a better way to say it, time of crime. And they say, it's on page 5, and they say the combination of DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from only Bethany and only Dylan's phone, and video of a suspect video, as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Wait a second. Wait a second here. But you said that you didn't take into account any of the victims' phones and when they were being used? But the only thing to determine, and they say it right here, the combination of these things, which is DM's statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from just Bethany and Dylan's phone, and video of suspect video as described below, leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Think about that. Beverly West, great question here. Have you ever tried, or statement, however you want to look at it, have you ever tried to hold a conversation with somebody wearing a COVID mask, especially on North 95? Can't understand them clearly. How could DM hear what was being said in another room? Yep. Yeah, bro, they literally used Xana's TikTok activity in the PCA to narrow down she was alive. See, that's the whole thing, though. That's what doesn't make any sense. Is wouldn't you mention that in the part of the PCA when you're talking about why you're labeling it from 4 to 4:25 as the time of crime? But that's not what they did. I'm telling you that's not what they did because they just wrote it. They just wrote it. That's not what they did. They did not use any of the victims' phones, or this is all from, and it says the combination of DM statements to law enforcement. It doesn't say the combination of DMs and Bethany's. It's just the combination of DM statements to law enforcement. Reviews of forensic download of records from BF and DM's phone. Okay. And then the third thing, and then the video of suspect video as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 and 4:25. They're not considering the DoorDash guy or Grubhub, whatever they used. They're not considering the victim. Like, it says it plain as day right there on page 5. When determining the time of crime. So I think they're basically telling us, because I believe that what if one of them were watching a movie on their phone and it kept on rolling? Okay, because their phone stayed on. Well, their phone is on until, and it's playing this movie from, let's say, I don't know, YouTube or, whatever. And their phone kept going. So are they alive? Well, that's what I would argue. I would argue that they were still alive because they were using their devices, right? And then I would also argue that Kaylee and them stopped using their devices at 2:52. So they used them because they were dead. These are the things that you would be arguing, right? And then also, if the DoorDash guy just dropped the food off and didn't hand it to anybody, you don't know when somebody got that. Unless the food is in their tummy, unless the food bag is inside the house and it's got someone's DNA on it. But why aren't any of those things mentioned as to the time of crime? They're only saying those 3 things that they were using to determine that it was between 4 and 4:25. And that's going to be problematic, I think. You just can't ignore every other, like, when you do a PCA, you're doing it, you need to have it as good as you can get so you can get a rest, right? But then you pretty much got to stick with what you put in there, right? When you're going to go to do what? The preliminary hearing. And I just see some problems. And so I just hope that, that they do have more. But anytime a police officer is saying to ignore the DNA and to issue this without even, then why'd you even put it in there? That's like saying, I won't even go there with the analogy that I was going to use because everybody would die. Um, a holy sheath. The PCA is written for plausible deniability. Do it turns first and says, I mean, are we ever really going to know? I think that if you challenge the stuff, if you look at certain things, I think it's sitting right there in front of us that, I think that camera is going to back up all the way to the police station, to Olympia Way or Avenue or whatever it was. But they can't show all that because that would induce panic. What do you mean the Elantra was coming out of the WSU parking lot for the police department? But I was just shocked when you actually, you break stuff down and you really hone into these words and really what they mean. And for everybody out there jizzing all over this PCA, I don't see it. I see way more questions. I see way more. There's just, if nobody's out on that road and it's the only car that comes back and forth, and you could see that. But in here, you're saying there's multiple other people that are coming, and it's just, and then how far is it going to have to go in the preliminary hearing? I mean, who do you think is going to be having to testify? What do you think we're going to hear? Carol says, yes, absolutely. The preliminary hearing is going to bring into question what is said in the PCA. Defense will try to knock out all evidence from PCA and search warrants so that they should be tight. Yeah. It's not though. It's not all sitting in front of us. Again, 100. But if it's so cut and so dry, right? And you have such a slam dunk with Brian Kohlberger because he's this monster, because he's this horrible person and he's just a weirdo freak and he's been stalking them and all this stuff, right? Um, it should just, and this was just one sicko that planned to do this. Um, because what he wanted to be a serial killer, or he is one, or you know. Uptown, uptown funk you up, uptown. When my little nephew was singing that the first one of the first times I was ever heard that song, I thought that they were saying "f you up," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Um, I'm not so sure BK committed these murders. I, I'm just kind of blown away that you would have to, um, which you would go out and tell the public the stuff that you have, and tell that town that hey, you guys are safe because this is an isolated, targeted attack. This is anything but that in terms of like, what? So you don't think that Brian Colbert could kill again? You don't think whoever did this could kill again? I think this is a pretty sick crime scene. Um, I just, ooh, to, I wouldn't be, mm, I'd be scared living on that campus as like a 20-year-old girl, and just, ugh. Dr. Debbie, great question here. Why doesn't the prosecution seek a grand jury indictment so defense doesn't get to see anything or cross-examine state witnesses? Um, I want to save that question for Scott tomorrow. Um, Hard to believe doors weren't locked, knowing Xana's dad was just there changing the locks because she thought she was being stalked. Also, because of possibly other girls. What are your lockup procedures at night? Idaho doesn't like grand juries, someone said. You're on to some things, and the 42 agents on this case is one of them for sure. For sure. Every time I go live, guys, I try to point out different things. I'm not going to come on here and talk about the same thing over and over and over and over and over. Like that's just boring. If I don't have anything to say, I got nothing to say. But each time I sit down and want to, all right, let's reprint this all off and let me just read this if I was reading it for the first time. Like what sticks out to me. And I think the hard thing for me is how did you get to Brian Kohlberger? Because that PCA is telling me you basically had point A and you had point, X. Like here's your person. Now, now make it fit. Now that's what I see. So yeah. So Unsolved says, why don't people lock their doors at night? I don't know. There's a White Elantra on there. Haven't you guys seen that? It's hard to get your hands on anything right now. They're saying between May 23rd and June something that I could possibly have some footage back. Yes. Someone said whoever murdered them still can't understand why there was no blood anywhere but where the bodies were found. I still can't believe there's no blood coming out. Where's the blood coming out of the house? You know? Why would the dog be barking at 4:17 in the morning? If the killer is nowhere near where the dog is because he's on the second level. Why would the dog be barking? I thought the dog didn't bark. I thought the dog never barks. But what if he actually walked through that room and went out that back door? Hmm. Hot Ham says, "Sorry, I was leaning on my keyboard." Yeah, I wanna know who the amputee is because there's only one, who doesn't have a right or left foot? That there'd be one shoe print. You know what that tells me? That's the person that came out of the bedroom, and they took one step and, like, what, realized something and then, like, jumped back? I don't know. But who only has one leg in Moscow or WSU? So, great dig tonight, Lana. I can dig it. Can y'all dig it? We can dig it. Um, Dylan sleeping in her vans. Well, you're gonna have to explain that. Only explanation of no blood coming out. Someone handed him clothing or whatever did it, clothing immediately after. Isn't it strange? Shoe print right in front of the room. I want to know when they got that shoe print though. Like they got it, on their second time that they processed. Well, when was that? Um, they haven't shown what way the footprint was. No one's ever talked about that. It's never said in the path. Lana, who do you think the killer is? Not me. Uh, Not me. Yeah. Let's go find the one-leggers out there. Denise, that's who I think. Lana, who do you think the killer is? Well, the answer is definitely not me. Hello. Um, why did his phone ping around that area? Well, the people in the probable cause here say that the people travel back and forth to those two campuses all the time, and that's normal. And all it wasn't paying off of their internet. It was paying off of a tower that is consistent with 1122 King Road residents using. Well, that would also be consistent with how many other residents or businesses. So me either. Denise says, me either. I am not the killer either. Mic drop in. Hi. Yeah, my son has Vans, but guess what? So I went and bought the high top, like boot kind of ones, and they actually have a different pattern underneath. It still has like the triangles, but it breaks it up with like a little thicker sole. Someone said, Atlanta, don't laugh. I think he tiptoed when he stepped up that step and saw Dylan. He put his foot down. Mm-hmm. Or he had booties on, right? I just can't believe that you got an officer that was there for 4 hours, okay? And there would have been no talk about the sheath being, on the side of Maddie. And it wouldn't be pointed out. There's no talk about it. Just interesting. I got this song stuck in my head now. I know, guys. That's all I do is get songs stuck in my head. So, are you ready with the whiteboard for tomorrow night? Yeah, whiteboard's intact. A lot of things are great. Great crew tomorrow. I'll be putting up that thumbnail first thing in the morning. So there will be a thread up. Like I said, myself, Scott Roeder, and the guys from the Drunk Turkey. It's going to close out our 2-session all-star lineup. So, but yeah, I'm not forgetting that we have limited information. Absolutely not. Not after I know how they play. But what I'm saying with the information that we have, guys, you break down break down the wording, and if you don't have to get this creative, right? If you have the right person, you should have a lot of things pointing to their guilt, right? Like for example, if you found the murder weapon, or you have all that blood, all the stabs, everything that was going on in that house, and you're telling me the only DNA, like no spit from the person came out anywhere. He didn't cut himself. Nobody got a scratch. Nobody got scratches. Nothing. You don't think anything's underneath their nails. And in fact, the one piece of DNA that you do have, the touch DNA, or you didn't want to use, you're like, don't consider it when issuing this. And just wild. So, chat is fire. We always have the best chats. And on my end, I get to see everything like way behind. How the hell was his face clean with blood splattered everywhere? Right? Mouth was covered with mask. Well, what about his eyes? What about his eyelids? What about his bushy brows? They didn't get no blood in there. You know? Was all of his cast downward because he was using a knife a certain way? I mean, I have no idea. I just can't wait to talk to Scott about it. I've been working on a bunch of good questions. So, I mean, according to Turd Ferguson, his eyebrows absorbed all the blood. And now he became a fire crotch. So, anyways. Yeah, a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Did they actually have video of someone entering the house? I don't. Well, in the PCA, they say no. Did you guys like that? Got to keep you on your toes over here. I'm curious if she looked out her window. That's one of my questions on there. I'm curious to know how many lights were on the house. I'm curious to know what lights were on, period, in the house. And I want to see a walkthrough to see how dark it would be. If you're standing in your room, the only way that someone could walk towards you is if you were actually out of your room. But if you open up your door only like a crack to like peek out, then that means you were already scared to only open up your door a crack. What are you scared of? Like, what is going on? Like, come on, man. And then think about it. Every time that we like think someone's at our house or we think someone's there, like, don't we always go to a window or look out like our door to see like who's here? So you have you have your back window that you could personally look out. But then also when you would open up your door to like, when you opened up your door, did you not walk out to like, to actually hear what you thought you heard? And if that's the case, like, did you look? It's second nature for at least me. I'm gonna go to one of my windows and look out if I hear something. We're sitting at our desk and all of a sudden I hear, kids being loud, but I just heard like the bus pull away and the bus stops right over here, right? So, but I'll still like look out. I'll say like, okay, hey, what's going on? Or you hear tires screeching and then you look out. So if you think someone's in your house or you hear someone that says that, like, you can't possibly open up your door to your bedroom and then that you're going to be able to see if someone's here or do anything like that. You would have to like physically leave your bedroom. Like, what are you getting out of your bed to go and do? Just open up your door and stand there? And to do that how many times? Have you ever done that? Like, is that like a normal thing? Think about that when you're in your bed and you hear something. What do you do? If my house is completely quiet and I heard someone come in my house, I could tell you I don't think I'm going towards the problem. You know, the first thing I'm doing is calling 911. Didn't these people have to pee? Hmm? I open the door and I have a metal baseball bat. But do you just open the door and just stand in, like, what do you open the door? Don't you like open your door or like you come down and like you walk out into your living room, right there in that room where you're like, what would you do? Like, just think about when you're in your own bedroom and you heard something, like, what do you do? Grabbing the gun first thing. Okay, now picture that you live with other people. Like, when you hear something, is it like, oh, I heard like the TV was on, you know? I heard, this guy next door to me, he works crazy ass hours and he just like has to like rev up his truck at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? He is literally revving up like a diesel. And I'm like, you're gonna make me switch around our bedroom situation because of that. But like when I first like moved in, you're not like used to it. You're like, what the heck? And then you hear somebody like, depending on how close the houses are and what you can hear, if somebody opens up their door and their car door and they like shut it. I mean, did Dylan say that she heard somebody speeding away like with their tires screeching? Um, her bedroom was right there at the back of the house. Did she hear a car engine start up like right after that? Open up the door, close the door. I mean, and then guess what? He would have had to walk right past, her kind of bedroom window if he went out the slider and like what? Because out, no one answers. If I say like, "Hey, who's there?" or whatever, and they don't say anything, like I'm going to an area that I'd be able to see if somebody was here. Like, let me look down at someone's car here. Like, I don't know. Let me look out my window or let me call out to one of my roommates. So, um, it's just like, what's a normal thing? What's your normal? And then I'm super curious to know who found who. Very curious to see that. All right, guys. You guys are great. As always, love the chat. I'm going to round this up. Got a big day tomorrow night. So, yeah. Yeah, there's nothing normal about this. How do you not hear the noise going on above your room? If the guy was hurrying, would she say she heard running down the steps too? Yeah, nothing about the steps. As creaky as they make. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you think that Dylan was brought back there to say, hey, where were you standing when you came and you opened up the door? Okay, so each time that she opened and closed the door, did you close it so people could hear? Like, think about that if you're also like the killer and you heard somebody's door opening and closing. Like, you didn't hear that? How about when did she close her door? After he left out the slider? Because wouldn't he have heard that she closed the door? There's so many inconsistencies. There's just a lot of like logic that's missing. There's a lot of like natural, what would your reaction be? And I think my reaction would be like, hey guys, knock it off. If you're like upstairs, like, why would you think that Kaylee would be playing with her dog at 4 o'clock in the morning? Is that something normal that Kaylee would do? So, um, good night, everyone. I would freeze, run, and make sure I took my phone to call 911 after I was, I tried to get off that, but after I was. Awesome live, Lana Mods and TNT fam. Great minds. Thank you so much there. Night thanks. Night thanks. Good night. Woo. Good to see you, Gina B. Good to see you, Hot Ham. Put those notifications on. I'd say, hey, what's up? Then go to the first. I'm just saying I would leave my room. Otherwise, why would I get out of my bed? If I'm not going to go do something, why am I getting out of my bed? I'm not getting out of my bed to stand in the middle of my bed, like of my door. Like if I'm getting my happy ass out of bed, I'm getting my happy ass out of bed and going somewhere. I'm not going to the door to open the door so that what I can better hear. Like what would be the purpose? And then when you opened it, then you didn't hear anything? So then it all went away? It's like one of those things I'm like, yeah, then I got back in bed and then I heard it again. So then I got up again. But you didn't go like hunting for the noise? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because you hadn't seen anybody yet. So your first 3 things that you did, yeah, I listened to my bed, but I got up out of bed and I opened up my door. And then I just closed it. So you got up out of bed and you just opened your door and then you closed it. You guys, that's not normal. Ciao, till next time. Again, thanks mods. Thanks subscribers. Thank you members. Consider becoming a member of the channel. Also, make yourself known. Thumbs up the video or thumbs it down. Up to you. You have thumbs. You have a voice. Use it.